There it is. And it should be recording now. And I think also for most of you, there should be a small recording sign at the left top of your screen. So, welcome to this meetup. I feel honored to do this. It's the first time I'm presenting something online for such a large group of people. I'm amazed that 71 people, or 70 minus me, are currently logged in and joined. My setup isn't ideal, so if I'm sometimes not looking directly into camera or I'm looking sideways, it's because I have a very large monitor and I need to look at some other things as well. But I think we'll make okay. So this talk is about stop doing Scrum. But before I tell more about that and really start it, I'm going to do a small introduction of who I am. I do this using this slide. I recently drawn it 2 weeks ago with a couple of friends online, because we have an online drawing session to draw something every day. And this was the challenge of make a drawing of yourself that you can use to introduce. So I should also be able to point. Oh, it's not very fast, but I'm Jong. I'm married. I have 3 kids, young children, 2, 4, and 6 years old. In my spare time, I like reading. I like listening to books. I like gadgets. I have an iPhone, iPad, all the other stuff. And I'm enthusiastic about Scrum. I really like Scrum. I started out as a developer almost 15 years ago. And since 2011, I was introduced to Agile and Scrum. And for me, it just clicked. It felt right. A lot of things I recognized about who I was, how I did things. And yeah, since then, I've been a jack of all trades. That's the image you can see over here. The Jeroen with all the different hands, all the different things I can do. And the jack of all trades is also something I can relate to be Agile or using Scrum. Because in the past, I didn't want to focus on only one thing. I wanted to do everything, or at least I wanted to do the things that needed to be done at some point. So if I would zoom a little bit in on jack of all trades, what does that mean for me? On this slide, you can see all the functions, roles, business titles I've had for the past 15 years, but also the roles I did for the past 5 years even. Most of the times I was an entrepreneur. I'm self-employed. I have my own business since the start already. And we were working in small companies, and we were basically doing everything ourselves. And so I started out as a developer. At some point, the number of developers grew, so I became a lead developer. At some point, we started a new business. I was the product owner of that company. So I did a lot of things. A lot of people ask me, how is it possible that you can do all of these things? And for me, being Agile is one of the answers. It's basically how I like to do, how I like to solve puzzles is make it transparent. What is it I want to do? What is it that happens? I'm just going to try it, just experiment a little bit, see what happens, and adjust from there. But this is me short. It's not really related to the rest of the talk. But I'm also interested in you, the people who are here viewing my presentation, viewing this talk. And to be able to get some interaction with you, I want to use Mentimeter. So I want to invite everybody of you to pick out your phone or go to a separate website and type in menti.com. You can use a QR code reader to go to the website. Otherwise, go to menti.com and use the code 789759. I will also do it myself to make sure that everything is working. And when you're in, you should see the same screen, and there should also be a button there where you can press the like button. And as soon as you do that, it should also be visible on the screen. And I probably need to click this because it's not turning on active automatically. Where's my mouse? This is fun. Yeah. So now visible. Yeah, at least I see 1 like. So at least one person, 4 likes. See, now it's happening. So let's see if I can get that number up to almost 70. Yeah, it's working. Great. $49. 51. Now, if you're not finished yet, on the next slide, the same number should be there again. But I'm going to continue, if my computer lets me. Hello, please go to the next slide. Yeah, there it is. And apparently the slide is again not active. But I want to know, who are you? What kind of people are currently watching this? And I'm not interested in your name, but I'm more interested in what do you do for a living? Are you a product owner, Scrum Master, developer? What kind of role do you have? Oh, it's going fast. A lot of people are doing it. For some reason, my computer is very slow, probably because it's also recording. But at least this is working. I see some DevOps engineers, developers, Scrum Masters, front-end developers, student, chapter lead, talent manager, CPP C# developer. So we have a nice mixed audience. So I think with these kind of people, this talk will be very interesting. I also see already 3 people have found the I have a question button. Right now, I'm not going to answer the buttons. I'm also not going to take a look at it yet. But if you have any questions or any suggestions during the talk, feel free to use the button, ask a question. If you click on there, you should also be able to see the questions other people have asked or have typed. You should be able to rate it. And at the end of the talk, I will take a look at all the questions there. And if needed, if still needed, answer them. My experience from a previous conversation and some tryouts is that answering questions during the talk takes away the magic of the story itself. So let's continue to the next one. Let's see if I can now go to the next slide. Yep. Now it's working. So this talk is about a story from my own experience from a team I coached in the past, is how I helped them by getting better, by telling them to stop doing Scrum. It was a small IT department. So with that IT department was 1 product owner. There was 1 person, a lead developer, who was also acting as Scrum Master, 4 developers, 1 UX designer. And it wasn't working out very well. People didn't like Scrum. They weren't delivering anything. There were a lot of problems. And the company itself approached me and hired me to coach the team and to consult me what they could do better, what they could improve. So as I already said, I came in there. Everything I heard there was, Scrum sucks. Why do we need Scrum? It does not work. And I have the feeling that a lot of you might also be familiar with this. I saw some people I know in there, and I know they also have their opinion about Scrum. So before I continue, I want to ask you, why do you think that Scrum sucks? Are there any reasons that you think Scrum doesn't work? Is there anything in your organization that you noticed? So why does Scrum suck, according to you? It doesn't suck, it sucks. Good, and the first 2 answers are really nice. Misunderstanding of what Scrum is. Most people think they Scrum, but do not correctly implemented. Overhead management, it's misunderstood. At least I see a lot of people also already have the right mindset. The point system is difficult to get in the hang of. People don't know how to write stories, subtasks. Scrum works for just fine. All hail Scrum. Perhaps people aren't practicing it properly. Estimation with changing a team is hard. Scrum but I see multiple times. Does not suck itself. As a team, you can make it suck by not trying to implement it correctly. Scope change halfway during the sprint. Some part works, some don't. product owner without any mandate. Yeah, I see a lot of issues there. And this talk itself, it's mostly focused on why you should not do Scrum. So let's see what that means. I did the exact same exercise as this one with the team there, and the answers they give over there were, move back in. Oh, what just happened? Let me zoom out a little bit so everything is visible. The things they came up with was there were too many meetings. The retrospective is the same every week. Yeah, we can't really do a sprint, or we can't plan because the priorities are always shifting. There's too much ad hoc work. Work is coming in. Yeah, we need to do stuff. We actually don't have anything to demo, so why do a demo anyway? We don't want to do it. The daily, why do we need to give a status update every day? Yeah, task spans multiple sprints, so yeah, why are we dragging on the stories every time? Why can't we just fix it instead of having all those stupid meetings? Why should we use story points? Why should we write those? There's so many overhead. Jira sucks. Move the mouse again, sorry. So, when I came in, the first thing I said, well, okay, no more Scrum. Let's stop with it. And basically, the organization already knew I was going to do this, so they weren't shocked. But some of the developers, and especially the product owner, how can we stop? So, well, you say it doesn't work, so why should we do it? So let's stop with all the stand-ups, stop with the other retrospectives, stop with the demos, stop with the boring planning meetings. Yeah, you don't want to write user stories, so just stop writing them. So we don't want to estimate story points because everything is estimated 3 or 5 anyhow, so why do you use them? Just stop, don't do anything anymore. But there's one thing I still want you to do, and that is make your work visible, at least in some way that we can see what everybody's working on. And I wanted to do it with a physical board, with actual index cards, and just write a quick and easy title on the index card so you know what story we need to work on, and work from there. And basically the first thing they already came up here was, well, but all the information in Jira, can't we use it anymore? So, well, as far as I'm concerned, you still are allowed to use Jira. But then, yeah, write the story title on the item title on the card, and on the back or below, write the Jira ticket. So all the information that you want to store or want to save, you can still find in Jira. But this board will be the single source of truth. This is what we're working on. So we started implementing this and we started using this. And already pretty quick, we ran into an issue. And that issue was, yeah, what do I need to do? And not only the product owner was saying that, because the product owner was, yeah, initially when we started, the product owner put all the stories there in order. Highest priority for him was at the top. And the developers were looking at it, it was, well, it's funny that it's there, but I don't know what to do, so let's pick something else at the bottom, or let's pick something else. And even then, people weren't sure what to do. And there was one person who most of the time knew what to do, and that was the lead developer. But yeah, everybody knows a lead developer who has headsets on, who doesn't want to talk, who's very grumpy because he's very busy, he has lots of things to do. So yeah, the team wasn't really happy. They didn't know what to do. So what did they start doing? Every day around 9:30, the product owner, or at least this lead developer, came into the office. Here you see another picture of the lead developer working, everybody asking himself what he needs to do. The lead developer came into the office, getting a cup of tea. So around 8:30, 9:30, somewhere around that time, everybody who had questions for the lead developer stood at the coffee machine, waited for him to join, and bombarded all the questions to him. So he didn't really like that because, well, I want to get my coffee and want to start. But since everybody there was standing, yeah, maybe we can do something with it. So he said, well, every day, or at least whenever you need me, around 9:30, I will get a cup of coffee. Yeah, come find me. I have some time then. Let's quickly discuss what you want to discuss. After that, please leave me alone and let me work. Well, they started doing that. Still, stories weren't clear enough. The tasks that they were on the board weren't clear enough. They needed more in-depth knowledge. They needed to know what they were. And only having these short interactions wasn't helping. So this is where I stepped in, and I said, well, I know you guys didn't like a very, very large extended refinement session or planning session. So let's have just ad hoc small meetings in the morning when you sit down with the lead developer or when you sit down with the product owner. Pick a time somewhere during that day and sit down with at least 3 people to discuss the stories, to refine it, to add additional information to it. So that happened. They started to do ad hoc 3 people sessions. Initially it was ad hoc, so sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes in the morning. And yeah, it also didn't work out. So they were going to start and change something. So already within, I think within 2-3 weeks, some things happened. Some sessions were created by the team itself. They had ad hoc 3 people sessions, and that eventually became fixed time because, well, I don't want to ad hoc remove my calendar. I want to have a little bit more focused. So let's do a fixed time on Monday and Wednesday around 10 a.m., 2 days a week. We take a full hour with 3 people. We can also get people in, move people out. Let's keep the group small and refine user stories, see what we need from each other, what we need to do. And next to that, we had an optional daily alignment session with the lead developer or the product owner, somewhere around 9:30, because that's the time when you arrive to the office. So eventually this worked out pretty well. People were getting started. Some things were getting delivered, and especially that some things was the next issue, because the product owner really wanted to know, well, how long will it take to deliver this feature? How long will it take to get this done? And I see some things here in the board. They're right now, they're busy. When is it done? When can you deliver this? And then the story most of the time is, well, it's almost done. We only need to test a little bit thing, and then we can move it to production. And almost. So I think a lot of people recognize this, and even the people in the team recognize this, but they didn't know what to do. And I said, well, since I'm new, I have the feeling what's wrong, but let's try to make it a little bit more transparent. Let's see what's really happening there. So we had a small discussion about, now we have to do busy done. What kind of stages could we do with busy? Is there something else that we can extrapolate from that and create a separate row for that? So we created a new row, review. So to do all the items that are still new, that haven't been picked up yet, busy, everything that's been worked on, review, everything that's done, that can be tested, can be reviewed, and then everything was done. And what you saw now is that, well, a lot of things are in review. So something is not going smooth over there, something is going wrong. What is it? It turned out everything that was done, there were only a few, or actually one person that can really test. So only a few people who could do the testing. So as soon as the story was done, developers started a new story, and the tester was still busy with testing the features. But as soon as the tester was done, something was wrong. So the work needed to be pushed back to busy, but the developers were already moving along. So the work piled up, and more issues were becoming visible, and they were creating more issues. So how can we solve this? And this is where I introduced a maximum number of items per each column. We started out with this, only 3 items in busy and 2 items in review. And because the idea was, well, with only 5 developers, should be something like this. 2 people can be reviewing at the same time, and then the other people can developing. And what you see here is this board is completely full, so no new tasks can be picked up. 2 stories are actively being developed. 1 story is already done developing, but since there are already 2 items in review, no new stories can be picked up. And this resulted into the team working together, because now sometimes we had to correct them, sometimes we needed to check, well, there are now 4 stories in there, so should you really pick up the story? Can't you do something else? But eventually people were starting to help each other out. So as soon as there were 2 stories in review and they couldn't move anything from busy anymore, developers started running to help testing, to see if they can help the tester itself. and actually also tried to automate stuff. So this wasn't done in one night. This took quite some time to actually get these things to work. But eventually, flow was getting in there and things were getting done again. But this was the development part. We still haven't addressed the issue from the product owner. So the product owner came back, but when can I actually deliver this? I have a lot of stories here in the backlog. When can I expect this? Can we not just poker it again so I can play around with it? And yeah, basically the developers were already grunting again. Well, I don't want to use that Fibonacci rate anymore. I don't want to poker. I just want to, I want to do it in some way. So instead of pokering, I said, well, let's do some relative estimation. So we picked a couple of stories that were already done, that we were finished. And I laid down a couple of cards on the table, extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, extra, extra large. And we said, well, if I take a look at this story, we already finished it. If you would estimate it at one of these sizes, which size would it be? Well, this could be a medium. And this one, it's bigger than that, so let's put it at large. So we did that first with about 10 stories from the backlog, from the board that were already finished. And after that, we were taking a look at the backlog, and we were putting the stories in there, setting on the right sizes. The product owner, yeah, how does this help me prioritize? I said, well, I have something else for you. What is your prioritization of this? Which of these stories is the most important for you? He said, well, these 4. I said, okay, so if I take this story next time, if I take this story first, then we're good. No, this story is not the most important one. Let's pick another one. Okay, so this one, no, almost not. So eventually they ended up with, yeah, all 4 are most important. So, well, that's not working. Let's make a list, and only one can be at the top. So we started estimating, well, more or less, and eventually the product owner and even the stakeholders there came around some sort of prioritization. And then I only took the product owner apart. I didn't want to burden the team yet. And I said, well, now let's take a look. How can we combine these? We have some t-shirt sizes. So you saw over there. Extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, extra, extra large. Leave the cards SB and just put a number on there. And in this case, the Fibonacci sequence again. And write this down. Do the exact same thing for the ordering you created. Now you have 2 numbers. You can add them together. You can play a little bit around with it. Maybe your prioritization is more important than the amount of work it takes. Maybe the other way around. But with these numbers, you can actually create a new number. So if you have a story that is about 3 in how much work it is, but in priority it's 8 somewhere down, and something else that's 8, but it's really important, you can play a little bit with the numbers. And eventually we came up with a system where we could multiply both the estimation of priority and the estimation of the amount of work. And with that, the product owner could start making estimations. But yeah, for these estimations to work, we still needed a couple of sprints of time to build up some history for him. But actually, for him, this worked out. Another thing that happened over here was that some of the developers were complaining, well, sometimes there's a story out of nowhere, but if we have known this before, we could have acted on it, or we could have written the code a little bit different. So the team itself asked the product owner, well, maybe once every 3-4 weeks, we can do a little team meeting to take a look at the roadmap. What is happening there? What is coming up? What should we do? And they also started doing that. So now we're a couple of months in the future. Everybody's busy. We had 3 people sessions. We had a daily alignment session. We were getting things done. The product owner can make estimations, monthly roadmap meetings. We were doing stuff. We were finally getting somewhere. But then, maybe some of you can expect it, but also sometimes things went wrong, but at some point we had a real crash. All the servers went down, the website wasn't available. All the developers were screaming, what's this function? What's this function? How can I fix this? And yeah, people were looking at it, they couldn't find the issue, and of course the lead developer came in, took a couple of minutes of look. Well, this is the problem. Click, fixed. Back to work. Nothing there. So, okay, let's continue, see what happens. So a couple of weeks later, same thing happened. Another crash. But this time, the lead developer wasn't there. So the rest of the team almost spent a complete day of trying to figure out what's wrong, and they couldn't get the website back up. And at the end of the day, they decided to really try to get a hold on the lead developer, and they were able to reach him at home. He picked up the phone, he listened to him, and I think I know what the problem is. Give me 1 moment. And 10 minutes later, everything was working again. So I said, wait, what happened here? How can this be? So the next time everybody was back in the office, I said, well, I want to have a small session about what happened. I want to discuss, what happened, what fixed it, what did we do? So I introduced the Blameless Postmortem. So just to figure out what was happening there, what fixed it. Is it really fixed? Will it not happen again? Or is there something we can do to prevent it in the future? And this resulted in a couple of items that we could pick up in the backlog and started improving on it. And after that, back to work. And yeah, of course, crashes still happen. And every time a crash happened, I wanted a post-mortem meeting. And yeah, that was already sometimes too much, because sometimes we had 2 crashes in a week, and then they had two of those sessions a week. And the people, the developers, didn't like that. We want to have less sessions. We want to do it once a week, once every other week, at least less often. So let's see what we can do over there. Also, some of the developers were starting to take a look at the post-mortem sessions, and were organizing sort of pre-mortem sessions. So with the 3 people sessions they were already doing, when they were looking at issues on the backlog, they were considering, well, if we take on this story, what could go wrong, and is there anything we can do to prevent this? And yeah, eventually all of this worked out in a sort of bi-weekly session, a post and pre-mortem session, in which we would check, did anything happen in the last week? Can we learn something from it? Can we improve anything on this? So everything was going smooth again. Now there was a new issue. And the new issue was kind of surprising, because the issue was things were getting delivered. The only problem now was the stakeholders or the product owner was responding, well, this is not right. This is not how it's supposed to be. When was this delivered? I didn't know of this. Can you show me when you're done? Well, the team responds, oh, of course, whenever I'm finished, I walk by your office and I'll show it to you, or I give you a call and I present it to you. And yeah, while they were starting doing that, almost within 3 weeks, they were coming back from it, because yeah, if they were going to show a feature to one person, sometimes another person also wanted to show it. So they were demoing, or they were explaining the same feature over and over again. And or they walked to somebody that didn't have any time, needed to make a meeting. So, any guess what the team came up with? I think a lot of people can imagine there. They came up with business review sessions. So once every 3 to 4 weeks, they organized a session with all the stakeholders that were involved, all the people from the team, and they just gave a short presentation. And also in the same session, did a small presentation on the roadmap and had a discussion about, well, this is what we're going to do next. This is how the roadmap looks like. Is there any input needed, or do you have any input what we need to change here? So this was, I think, about 6 to 8 months in already. So it took some time, but we were getting here. So on this point in the story, I want to give you a small recap what we changed. So we stopped doing the Scrum. We didn't do anything anymore. We set up a physical board. We added extra columns there. We set up maximum items and columns. We had regular 3 people sessions. We had a regular roadmap session. We had daily alignment sessions. We had a regular business review sessions, and a regular post and pre-mortem session. And that wasn't all. Before we stopped doing Scrum, they already had an off-sprints Friday. And the off-sprints Friday, that was every 2 weeks, they had a Friday where they could have some time to work on other projects or other things they were interested in that were not directly related to the items they were working on. And yeah, we kept doing that. And during the same day, I started Learn and Lunch. And during the Learn and Lunch, basically one of the developers during the lunch gave a presentation about something. And yeah, during one of these sessions, the developers came up to me and asked me, well, we're not doing Scrum anymore, but you're still doing certifications. You're still talking about Scrum. I see you're doing a lot of Scrum related things online. Why are you still doing Scrum? What we're doing here is much better. I said, well, it's funny that you mention. Yeah, let me organize a quick session, but I can't do that in an hour during the Learn and Lunch. So let's pick a day somewhere to do a small Scrum refreshing course and see what Scrum is all about. So I organized a session with the team and I told them what Scrum is about. So Scrum is really easy. There are only 3 roles, 5 events, 3 artifacts, 5 values, and 3 pillars. And yeah, they were looking at me, well, that really sounds interesting, but before I want to continue, let's see if everybody's still awake. If you go back to Menti, don't need to click there. You should see a question again. Are you familiar with these slides? And I'm trying to find my mouse, but somehow it's not showing. There it is. It also gives me a small indication if I need to talk about all these values in depth, or if you can go quickly over it. Almost everyone voted. Now about 20 people left, but still about 50-50. So I won't skip over them that quick. So let's quickly, individually discuss them. There are only 3 roles in Scrum. And I think at least these everybody knows. There's the product owner, the Scrum Master, and the development team. The product owner is responsible for maximizing the value of the product, and that product is being realized by the development team. And the Scrum Master is there to coach the product owner, to coach the development team, to coach the business, the organization around it, and to help everybody to understand Scrum, and also to facilitate sessions to not promote, but to improve the collaboration with each other, and to, yeah, if needed, remove any impediments the team itself cannot remove. So these were pretty familiar for them, and I think for you as well. There are 5 events in Scrum: the sprint planning, the sprint itself, the daily Scrum, the sprint review, and the sprint retrospective. The sprint planning is used to plan what we're going to do in the next sprint. The sprint is an iteration of 2 weeks. The daily is a daily meeting in which we discuss what we're going to do that day, if there's anything that's holding us back from delivering or reaching our goal. The sprint review is the opportunity to align with the business, to align with the stakeholders, to show, to demo what everybody's working on, and to gather feedback, to adjust the backlog. And there's a sprint retrospective in which the team itself looks back at the last sprint. How did it go? What can we improve? And are we still on target? The 3 artifacts. This word sometimes gives a little bit confusion, but most of the time it's also already known if you explain them. We have the product backlog. So there's a very large list with all the items we eventually want to build. The sprint backlog, all the items in the next sprint we're going to take on and try to finish. And the increment is the finished product at the end of the sprint that will be taken into production or can be taken in production. In, I think, 2016 or 17, the 5 values of Scrum were introduced in the Scrum Guide itself, but the first time they were already discussed in the book that was published by Jeff Sutherland, I think in 2011. It's just 5 values everybody who's doing Scrum should take in mind. So courage, focus, openness, respect, and commitment. And a little thing, if you want them to remember, if you take a look at the first letters, you can make a C for C, and that's something I used for myself. If I need to quickly tell them what the 5 values were again: C4C, courage, focus, openness, respect, and commitment. The courage to tell each other that it's allowed to make failures, courage to tell each other that, courage to give feedback to each other, focus to really focus on something, to make sure that the parts you're working on are small enough that you know what you're working on, openness to each other, openness so that you're to show that you're stuck with something, to show what you're working on, to show what's happening, respect for each other. When you give feedback, respect for each other, that you can talk to each other instead of talking over each other, and commitment, that you want to, you're committing to deliver value, you're committing to do your best in some things. Last, the 3 pillars: transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Scrum is based on an empirical process. And these 3 pillars, transparency, inspection, and adaptation, are the 3 pillars there. And as I told you before in the introduction of myself, this is also how, what I identified myself a lot with. When I start with something, I want to make it transparent. I want to see what's happening. And then I'm just going to inspect. If I poke there, if I change this, what is happening, what's doing this. And after I did that, I can change the outcome. I can change how I approach things. I can change my way of working. I can inspect and continue the loop. So we are doing Scrum, at least. That was the conclusion the team was saying. Because, well, we have 3 roles, right? We have a product owner, we have a Scrum Master, we have 5 people in the development team. We have 5 events because, right now we have a regular roadmap session that can be comparable to the sprint planning. We have time between the roadmap sessions. That might be considered a sprint, although right now it's more a continuous flow. But if we just say it's a sprint, it's a sprint. We have daily alignment sessions. So that's the daily Scrum. Regular business review sessions, sprint review, regular post and pre-mortem sessions. That could be the sprint retrospective. And we even have the 3 people sessions that can be the refinement. The refinement itself isn't the event in Scrum, but it's something that's mentioned in the Scrum guide. So, we're almost there, I think. There are 3 artifacts. We still have the product backlog, that's Jira. All the stuff that we ever want to do is in there. We have the sprint backlog, that's the physical board, and we have the incremental working product. And the 5 values, well, we show courage in doing the pre and post-mortem. We focus, we have a maximum amount of numbers in per column. We have openness because, well, we have the physical board. We share everything. We share everything in post-mortems. We have respect to each other. When we say some things, when we ask for help, and we have commitment. We really want to make this work. Everybody wants to work. And 3 pillars are kind of obvious. All the events we're doing are reasons to show transparency, to inspect what we're doing and adapt on that. So a question to everybody there, and also a check if everybody's still awake. Is this team doing Scrum? What do you think? For some reason, where's my mouse? There it is. Zoom out a little bit. If I take a look at this, I think most of you draw the same conclusion as the team did. But according to me, they're not doing Scrum yet, or at least they're not using this full Scrum framework yet. One of the things that for me is really Scrum is having a definition of done and having a sprint goal, and especially that sprint goal. And the way I always explain the sprint goal is according to this picture. Everybody knows the triangle of time, budget, and quality, and the scope. If you do plain waterfall, you have these three items: time, budget, quality. Scope is holy. You don't want to touch that. So we can do all 3 of them. So let's pick at least 1, or at least pick 2. Within Scrum, at least in my opinion, these 3 are set. We have a fixed time. the next 2 weeks, we're going to work on something. We have a fixed budget. These are the people that are available. These are the servers that are available. We know what is available within the next 2 weeks. And you don't want to mess with quality. Want as soon as you're going to mess with that quality going down, you're going to create technical debt. All things go to hell. And yeah, you don't want to mess with that. If you set a sprint goal, yeah, that goal can guide you. But if you have a goal and you have the time, budget, quality fixed, there's only one item left that you can change, that you can play around with a little bit. And that's scope. So if you set that goal, for instance, I want to optimize, I want to achieve this goal, and you know you cannot change anything else, you're going to be creative. You're going to play around a little bit. So if you thought, well, we're going to implement it with this technology, and it turns out this technology isn't working for you, maybe you can fix it in another way, or maybe you can do it in another way, or you can decrease scope. So if you want to achieve a certain goal, can you still achieve this certain goal doing it a little bit different? The sprint goal still is one of the hardest things to come up with and to think about it, but it really helps to give focus to a team and also to close discussions. If something comes up or something happening during a sprint, are we still able to deliver this goal? If not, what can we do so that at least the thing we deliver is as close as possible to this goal, and we can actually do something with it. And I briefly already mentioned it, the definition of done. In order to make sure that the whole team knows when something is done, when that quality level is achieved, you want to make some definition of done, so the whole team knows when an item is actually done. So I'm already a little over an hour already, so I need to wrap up. The conclusion of this story is, yeah, things were getting done. Everybody was happy. They were working. Eventually, I left the team. I was there for almost 1.5 years. Things were running again, and actually they were doing Scrum, or at least they thought they were doing Scrum, and they actually tried to do Scrum. Are they still doing Scrum? As far as I know, they do. They still have problems with defining a sprint goal, but everybody has that. But at least they have that focus again, they have that flow. And one of the most interesting things that I saw happening there was when I started, the lead developer was the Scrum Master, but yeah, he wasn't really doing the Scrum Master role. And one of the other developers that really hated Scrum in the beginning, he stepped up as being a Scrum Master. I would normally object of having a dual role to be a developer and a Scrum Master. But with this team and also with the size itself, it went pretty smooth. The team itself was already pretty mature, but they really didn't like being forced in things. And that's also the takeaways I have for this story, is change and understanding takes time. So when you force people into doing something without their understanding, without they understanding why they're doing it, they are resisting it. So when they started doing things themselves, they actually understood why they were doing it, and yeah, they accepted it and they wanted to continue with it. So there was a lot of eagerness to continue. One of the things why Scrum is misunderstood a lot of times, also Scrum is a framework. A lot of things have changed since it was introduced. Back then in 2000, whatever, I'm not completely sure about it, 2007, 8, 9. We had burn down charts, we had chickens and pigs, we had story points, we had stand-ups. A lot of those things, a lot of those practices were taken out of the Scrum guide. And these days, Scrum is actually a framework. So it's just those 3 roles, 5 events, 3 artifacts, 5 values, 3 pillars, and then 27 times the sprint goal is mentioned in the sprint guide, Scrum guide, and a definition of done. And basically these are the rules of the game, and you can play within it. And if you want to add practices like I did with the Kanban board, you're free to do so, as long as it works you out. Don't overthink. Sometimes you just need to do something and adapt if needed. And yeah, the title of this talk, don't do Scrum, be Agile. So use Agile if it fits for you. There are situations where, yeah, I think Scrum isn't working. So let's take a look at if there were any questions. Probably the first challenge again for me is to get my mouse there. Yeah. How are you? And for some reason, no, I can't click mark as answered because for some reason my mouse isn't showing. So I'm going to, oh, yep. Now everything is going a mess. Whoop. Nah. Technology is failing on me. Probably just need to buy a new computer. Hello. All the time I was, there it was, is activate. Hello. So you were NPO and Scrum Master. Now within this team, I was more officially I was the consultant, but yeah, I more acted as the Scrum Master, and I helped the product owner. So I didn't do any of the stories. I didn't get in depth of the stories itself. I was the coach, and actually I was acting more as a Scrum Master because the Scrum Master itself, the lead developer, he wasn't doing any of the roles. He was organizing. Previously, he only was organizing the events, but that was all of it. And I think the Scrum Master itself need to be doing much more. So I hope this answered your question. There are only 6 questions, so if we're done, then I open up the channels again, and you can also ask me directly. How can we align multiple squads and keep everybody? And for some reason, there's something about my screen. Yeah, no. Everybody in a loop. Align multiple squads and keep everybody in a loop. Yeah, and then you're talking at least already about scaled Agile, scaled Scrum. So one thing's, depending on the size of your company, you can organize joint sessions. So a review session with all the squads or all the people there. Same for the planning, same for a retrospective eventually. But this question is, I think, a bit too hard to answer now in only a couple of minutes. I'm currently working with ABN AMRO, and I also have a lot of issues there with aligning multiple squads and keep everybody in the loop. It depends on how you organize it. If you're doing safe, you could do the what's it called again? The product instrument plannings, the PI sessions. So organize a very big event with everybody there and set up different stations or different platforms where you can align all those teams, and together with all those teams create a backlog, create the next milestones for the next iterations of next quarter, and work from there. And with smaller teams, I've worked with a small organization with 3 teams. Basically, what we did there was more the Nexus approach. So we had, next to the team events, we also had joint events with 1 or more people from each team that were going there as a representative. And how much time does you spend personally to coach the team to the level? I spent there 3 to 4 days a week. So it was for me almost a full time. Yeah, it was quite some time. And I also know a lot of companies are, not really. They don't really want to do that because they don't see the value. People should be able to do it themselves. I'm just a coach. And a small anecdote on that. A friend of mine is organizing WeCamp. WeCamp is a retreat or an event 5 days on an island with a lot of developers. And last year they also did a podcast on that event and asked the developers, how did you experience this event? And what do you think of the coach? All the teams there were handed over coaches. And some of the remarks there were, well, we really like those coaches and we really need them. So my question to them is, what do you think that a Scrum Master is for normally? So personally, my own idea is Scrum Master should be a full-time role. And only when the team is mature enough, you can maybe do 2 teams. But personally, I've never been able to actually combine more than 2 teams as a Scrum Master per se. And I also did combined roles, Scrum Master and developer. And then yeah, the issue you have there is yeah, when are you Scrum Masters? Because you're trying to deliver an increment in your sprint. So you want to finish that. So yeah, I don't have time to have one-on-one coaching sessions. I don't have time to prepare a retrospective. I don't have time. So yeah, my answer to this is I spend a lot of time, and you should spend a lot of time as a Scrum Master. What is chicken and what is pigs? You have never read the original Scrum guide. The chicken and pigs, and I think we're going a little bit over time. I don't mind everybody. Nah, I see at least some people nodding no. Chicken and pigs is a story at the beginning. I need to dig deep in my memory as well. There's a story about a chicken and a pig who are going to start a restaurant. And basically, their own products will be on the menu. So the pigs are going to sell meat and the chickens are going to sell eggs. And yeah, one is actually doing everything, giving everything the pigs, and the chickens are more around it. And they're just, yeah, they don't have to do the actual work, delivering themselves. So the chickens were the stakeholders. Everybody are surrounding the project. And the pigs are actually the people who are doing the work, so the Scrum team itself. I hope I answered it correctly. If not, please correct me afterwards. And otherwise, look it up in one of the original Scrum guides. Do you really need an Agile master? Why is he important? Can this be someone of the dev team of the product owner? I think I partly already answered it with my previous statement that I think you need somebody as a, or at least you could use a coach or somebody who's taking an eye on this. And my own opinion is there, if you have somebody who's doing that as a dedicated job, he really can do it well. He can take the time to coach people. He can take the time to also just to watch and to observe. He can keep you sharp. And yeah, I think you need an Agile master. And yeah, I would not recommend it to combine it with somebody in the team itself, so product owner or the dev team, because then you're, yeah, if something is happening in the team, you're also part of that team. So how can you be still objective and try to find a solution for that if you're actually are also one of the person who's doing that work, or is maybe part of the problem as a product owner? And yeah, even I'm also not in favor of doing multiple teams together. But yeah, alas, most of the companies nowadays, at least the big companies, they don't allow to have only one team. But yeah, my own experience, a couple of months back, I had 3 teams. And I didn't want to do that anymore, so I dropped 1 team. And basically, all the teams were, the feedback from all the teams was I was doing a good job when I had 3 teams. And as soon as I dropped the 3rd team, all the feedback to me went more up, because they will, oh, well, so good to see you also have time for one-on-one sessions. So good that you mentioned this one. And I think even if I have 1 team, I can make more progress on that as well. Still more questions are coming in. How about documentation? This is slacking in our organization. Any tips? Yeah, the tips I have is one of as a developer and also as a Scrum Master, that's most of the time something I'm trying to aim for, trying to get under the attention. A lot of documentation can already be done in the code itself. So if you take a look at, or if you're going to start to automate things, or if you're going to look at test-driven development, for instance, you're going to write tasks. And these tests are already a form of documentation, because they're testing a function, but they can also test a certain business aspect, or just a certain business value, or business rule. And if you take a look at behavioral driven development, BDD, you can even use Gherkin, I think that's called, sort of a short language syntax that you can use to write the test scenario, or write a certain scenario. Given this, and this, and this, this function is, or this object needs to be something like this. And yeah, these small documentations can sometimes even be written by the product owner or stakeholders, but the same code can automatically be can be used to automate tests, or to write tests on. So I think first thing in documentation, where it should start, is in the code. And next to that, I personally always try to be as verbose as possible. So at least update Jira tickets a lot, and just keep information there or tag them there. And yeah, during the 3 people, during the refinement sessions, work on some kind of living documents where you at least can write down some of the decisions. But again, I would vote for try to document as much as possible in the code itself, because I think at least 70% of all the documentation should be possible in the code. And if anybody has another opinion, let's discuss it afterwards. More questions are still coming in. If anyone wants to interrupt me at some point, please do. Otherwise, I'm going to continue. The team was complaining about the amount of meetings and overhead. Did the amount of time spent in meetings lower, or was it just a feeling? It was partly a feeling, because they were doing a lot of meetings, but also a lot of meetings they were doing, they didn't understood why. So they were doing a meeting and they were just sitting down, waiting for the meeting to be over, and they weren't participating in it. And yeah, one of the tips there as a Scrum Master I have is try to facilitate meetings in such a way that it's that everybody is actually involved. And for the refinement sessions here with this team, I chose to have small separate refinement sessions with small groups. And currently in the teams at ABN AMRO, we have, when everybody is in, we have quite a big team with almost 10 people. I try to use liberating structures. Liberating structures is basically a tool set of how do you call it again? Some methods, some structures, how you can facilitate a session. And basically the easiest way to explain it is a one, two for all. Is if you have a certain question or a certain thing you're looking for, first ask everybody to individually think for a minute about that question and form yourself an answer. Then form a pair, discuss that answer. Then form a group of 4. And within that group of 4, discuss again that answer and eventually bring it back together. And by facilitating meetings in such a way, everybody feels heard. And yeah, especially with this team, when they started to do the meetings by their own, they actually saw the advantage of having those meetings, and they didn't really saw them as a drag anymore. And also having some fun with facilitating techniques helps a lot. Personally, I like to, every retrospective is a little bit different, so at least it's not getting boring. It's not getting answering the same questions over and over again. I hope that answered the question a bit. And for some reason, was that the last one, or can I? Yeah. Product owner. Oh, that was somebody who was answering on the wrong screen. No problem. It is hyped and seen as silver bullet. That's correct. Everybody knows Scrum. Everybody's using Scrum, and everybody's doing Scrum. And I think, yeah, again, that's the takeaway of this story as well. Yeah, you should be doing something that really helps. That's also why Spotify was invented at some point. That worked for Spotify. And again, what companies are making a mistake right now is that they're implementing Spotify without actually knowing why Spotify exists in the first place. So it's hype, it's not a silver bullet. So based on that sprint goal, sprint needs to be something, some definition amount of time, right? Seems to me you did kind of Scrum man. Definite amount of time. I'm not completely sure if I understand the question. Basically, I am doing a kind of Scrumban. I'm not familiar with the exact term, but at least I use some Kanban principles within Scrum team with the physical board and with the work in progress limits. And also, if you're interested, there's a really interesting course nowadays, Professional Scrum with Kanban. It's from scrum.org itself. And with that course, they show how you can actually use the practices of Kanban within Scrum. And yeah, my personal opinion about those about Scrum and about Kanban is Kanban is most of the time really focused on creating flow to get things as quickly as possible from one point to done, without actually having a certain rhythm of sprints, and also without a sprint goal. And Scrum is really about getting that maybe more product delivery or product development. I find it kind of hard to explain. One of the examples I would not use Scrum for is when you are in a support organization where a lot of tickets are coming in, and you don't know how many tickets or what kind of tickets are coming in, for instance, during a sprint, because everything is ad hoc. But for such a situation, you can really do Kanban, because then you can optimize on flow and get those tickets out as fast as possible. But as I said before, Scrum itself is a framework, and Kanban is basically one of the practices, and you can use those practices within Scrum. Almost there, and I'm not getting through to the next answer again. Oh. Would you advise to do Scrum with all the roles when there are only 2 to 3 people on the team? I'm curious how you're going to do that with 3 people in a team anyway. Scrum itself says that at least the development team needs to be 3 to 9 people. I think they changed it a couple of times. I think you can still do it. It's more, you need to be aware that the people who are sharing a role, that they're actually sharing that role. So at least the way of working, using all the events to align with each other, the board to get transparency, the review meetings to get transparency to the outside world and also get feedback there. Everything is possible. But Scrum introduced these roles with a specific purpose, and that's also to make a clear separation in accountability and basically accountability. So who is accountable for delivering the work? Who is accountable for that the people are communicating together in a well way, and who is accountable for value being created by the product backlog? And as soon as you start combining those roles, especially with a small team, how can you make sure that the developer and product owner, that he really steers on that value and is not steering on the value for the development team instead of the organization or the customer itself? But I wouldn't advise it, but at least I would basically say the same thing. Be agile. So take away what you think should work and what helps you, and inspect and adapt with that. Do you have tips who to come up with good sprint goals? I don't have them from the top of my head, but I know at least the Liberators have some really nice blog posts about it, and also on scrum.org there are a lot of blog posts with examples of good sprint goals and with ideas how to come up with better sprint goals. Having a good sprint goal depends mostly on the type of product you're working on, or the kind of features you're implementing. One of my projects I did in the past is the Club van Sinterklaas. It's basically the Dutch Santa Claus version. And we only have a very short amount of time. So we go live around October, and basically after 5th of December, everything is gone again. And doing short sprints there, or at least having a sprint goal, we want to achieve something. For instance, we want to achieve not the return of investment, I can't get to the other word. The conversion rate of some of the pages we want to go up, or we want to improve the time people are on the website. These are very fake goals, but having sometimes a fake goal can also steer you in a good direction in that part again. I don't have any top of my head, sorry, but I will share some of the links with Developers.nl so we can also share them, or share them in the meetup. It wasn't really clear to me how the product owner got a clear view of when it's finished. You try to size them up relative to each other, but stays a very rough estimate. That's correct. It still stays an estimate, but maybe I should have elaborated a little bit more on that. By using the Fibonacci sequence and prioritizing like that, we were getting some kind of values, and with these values we could also see how many of those points, again the points from earlier, the team could do every sprint. So with this you could estimate some sort of velocity, and with this velocity the product owner can make estimations for himself. So at the current team I'm currently working for, sometimes they do the average of all the sprints for the past 8 weeks is about 32 points. So the product owner can say, well, if I take a look at the backlog, I can see, well, every 32 points per sprint. That's average that they can achieve, sometimes more, sometimes less. So these stories in the backlog will be probably finished around then. And we also used it in this case. And yeah, if anyone would dive into more in Kanban, there's also Kanban with, I need to dive a little bit in my memory, but you have the lead time. There are a couple of measures there as well. How long will it take for a story to be new on the backlog and until it's in production? And with those kind of estimates, with these kind of measures, you can also estimate how long it will take. It's not a complete answer yet. I think I'm also almost running a half an hour out of time already. So sorry for that, I'm going on. Because this, I think, is the last question. What to do if we have multiple sprint goals? Do we need to cut the team in half? What to do? I think first thing is, again, try to figure out why you have multiple sprint goals. And if the sprint, the team itself is actually too big, then maybe cutting the team up in half is an idea. And otherwise, try to figure out why you're having sprint goals. And also on Liberators and the Scrum.org, there are some articles on that, so I'm also going to refer you to that. Sorry. No questions left, so that's good. So I have one last question to everybody here, if my mouse wants to move. And then I'm going to wrap this story up. Yep. Because I also want some feedback. I want to know, I took a little bit more time than I initially planned, but I think, I'm not sure how many people left, but I think it's okay. At least I didn't got interrupted. What do you think of this presentation? What do you think of this time? Was it an excellent talk? Was it a real useful talk that was worth more time than we currently spend on it? Or was it completely useless? Should I not have done this? Should you not have joined us? Should you better be doing something else? So I probably need to click something again before actually seeing it. Let me know what you think. And also, if you want to give any actual feedback on person, please contact me afterwards or let me know. And please be honest. Now, the result is almost going to a halt. So I leave it with that. At least I'm pleased that almost half of it is above average. So I'm pleased with that. And with that, I want to thank all of you for listening to me. If anyone wants to connect, you can also scan this QR code and it should bring you to my LinkedIn page. Otherwise, if you want to find me on most of the social media or networks, at Jong is my, at least my Twitter handle, and most of the time my handle. And thank you for that. And with that, I think I'm going to ask Andy to unmute everybody. Oh wait, before I unmute, one more thing. I also prepared some slides for a pub quiz. So if you stay around, we can hang around, have some talk, and answer some questions. See if you actually know Scrum. See if you can answer some of the development questions, and see if you know some things about this meetup. So thank you for this. Time to unmute everyone.
Hello everybody.
Ja hoor.
Dit wordt een zootje natuurlijk.
You're still recording.
Een georganiseerd zooitje, toch?
Ja, een georganiseerd zootje.
Recording.
Een ongeorganiseerd zootje, denk ik.